Don't worry, it's Blue Lotus and Damiana. So I like to smoke natural herbs. I don't want to give y'all, too much insight on that. Um, or offended. Let me see. So I can't remember too much. I can give you bits and pieces of my beginning, but I can't really truly give you everything. But I wish I could. Um, and all I can remember is being raised, with my sister, my big sister Tasha, and my mom, my grandma, my aunt, and my uncle. Fat Jaws, Boo, my grandma Barbara. I believe my great grandma was there as well, but my mom, I don't remember seeing her too much. Only thing I can really remember too much about my mom is um, nights. I remember she would wake me up in the middle of the night, and she always played Natalie Cole songs, and you know, I remember she always held me by the window. She always looked out the window, and she always sung songs to me, and that always put me to bed. And when I woke up in the morning, she wasn't there. So I just always remember my grandma coming in from work, and I remember my aunt always being there. My aunt Fat Jaws, and it's only a few things I can remember. I remember like on weekend nights, I remember like the family would always crowd around in the kitchen, and we would just, my sister and I, we would just entertain the family. I guess, I was in love with Michael Jackson, so I used to always dance like Mike. And my sister used to sing all the time, but then it was just something about the family that, they just used to love that we did. And that was stand in front of each other and cuss each other out. And we was allowed to use every single cuss word known to man. As long as we was cussing each other out, we can call each other whatever it is that we wanted. It was funny because I just remember just everybody just sitting down and just like laughing like crazy and shit. It was just funny. It's just something that I just really, really remember. But that's just like the only good time I can remember, the whole family being together and us actually spending time together. But it was a good thing. I remember that. I can remember we used to go over my cousin's house. Um, and I can remember always going over there because I never liked to go over there because the house was dirty and everything. And God, so when we was young, like for those who don't know, pop bottles was like used to have like these big tall Pepsi, Coca Cola, but whatever kind of pop you was drinking back then, you had these real big tall bottle glasses, and after you drank the bottles, they came in these paper folded cases, and if you got done drinking the pops, the bottles was worth 10 cents. So you can go to the store and you could catch the bottle in for 10 cents. So that was candy for us. Penny candy was only a penny. So getting 10 pieces of candy actually was a really good thing. So I remember going over at my cousin's house, and I remember she always had these Pepsi bottles, and I always used to be thirsty, and I remember going in our refrigerator and there was nothing in there one day, and we had spent the night. I woke up that morning, and when they got done smoking cigarettes, they always put their cigarette butts in there, or my cousins and them, they had roaches, so roaches love pop, especially Pepsi, so roaches would get into the pop. And I could actually remember one time that I was just so thirsty, and I remember going into the living room, and I grabbed one of the pops, And I remember it was roaches in there and everything, and it was just a whole damn pop. And I seen them at the bottom and shit. And I literally can remember that I literally drank that pop all the way down until the roaches. That shit was fucking sickening. I'm never gonna forget that. That shit was crazy. The more I think about it, that was crazy. So, what else I remember? I can remember my grandma. My grandma worked a lot, but I remember she always kept the house clean. So my aunt, Fat Joe, she watched me a lot. Yeah, my sister, she was older at the time, so she was going to school, and I would get watched. So I was allowed to go outside and play all the time. And we had stayed in Walnut Hills in a big green house on the corner of Lincoln and I can't remember the name of that street. I think it was Chapel. I'm not too sure, but that's where we stayed on Melrose. It was on Melrose, matter of fact. And so basically chop everything up on that. So I used to play with this girl downstairs. Her name was Mooney, and she was a mixed girl. I remember her mom. I think her mom was mixed for real. I don't think she was white. I think she was mixed, and I think the little girl just still looked mixed. She was just real light skin, had long hair and all that. I think I was like 3, 4, or something like that. And I remember we was playing in the backyard, and it was crazy. I don't remember what it was, but she convinced me to take my clothes off and get up on her in the backyard and grind on her. And I remember we was going grinding like crazy. I remember that. 'Cause I didn't know what I was doing, but she told me to, so I did. I remember we used to be on the steps grinding and stuff. She'd tell me to lay on top of her. But that particular day, we was butt naked, took everything off. And I remember my aunt looking downstairs out the window, and she's like, Shannon, Mooney, I'm whooping your ass. Boy, I can remember us putting our clothes on so fast. I'm talking about all she had to do was walk out that window and go straight down the steps and come on the porch. And by the time she got her ass down there on them porches, we was fully dressed, neat and everything, playing on the porch like nothing ever happened, man. She came downstairs, she just bust out laughing. There wasn't nothing she can do. She bust out laughing. And I remember she took me upstairs, and I still got a whooping. But I remember like that very next day or a few days later, I was salty. I went downstairs and knocked on her door to see if Mooney can play. And her mom and them packed up and they moved. I never saw that girl again. I was salty. That was crazy.